Right, good day all. So we continue on along with Surah 95, Surah 18, right? And this is entitled the fig, right? The fig, also in reference to nature, right? So that is really the meaning behind that. Nature, right? Um, Fig or fig trees representing nature, how we can eat from nature and so on to live a more balanced life, right? Without having to cause harm and so on unnecessarily to other living creatures with a higher form of intelligence than plants, right? So it's just, or how we can live with our lives more in symmetry or balance or in tune with nature, right? In tune with less violence. Not saying that this violence on your plate needs to be eradicated today and once and for all, right? I'm saying that we are trying to ease people out slowly, right? Out of, you have to get meat every meal, right? 3 times a day eating, you have to get meat, right? Every day eating, you have to get KFC, right? Every day eating, you have to get barbecue. From the minute you smell barbecue, you have to run to buy it. So it's about managing your senses, right? Managing your sense organs so that you don't run away when you smell a barbecue, right? When you smell a fried chicken, right? When you smell a curry duck, right? That you don't have to immediately, hey, I'm feeling for this, I'm feeling for that, right? So sense management is what we are looking at, right? So aiming to what? Eat for sustenance, right? Aiming to or striving to eat for the sake of sustenance or sustaining ourselves on earth, right? Eating to live basically, rather than you're living here for pleasure, you're living here to eat, right? So um, gluttony is what we're dealing with, right? Gluttony, right? The fact that we have to, many people have to get certain things that is pleasurable, that are pleasurable to consume into their stomachs, right? Day in, day out, day in, day out, right? So looking at returning to a simpler lifestyle, right? A simpler lifestyle and a healthier lifestyle as well. Healthier, simpler lifestyle, right? And it's not only eating as in foods, but we're looking at all aspects of being more in tune with nature in all aspects of life, basically, right? Or as many aspects as we can, right? Um, that way, we also save on um, a lot of things that we complain about, right? That we could, in our own individual actions, help our own country with, right? So we can save on little things so that other people in the country could have access to, if that is how it works. If we're drawing ourselves a little bit, hey, let me hold back on this a little bit so that somebody else could have access to something, because we're in a small country, right? So by the fig and the olive, right? By nature, right? And the one who created nature, right? By the mount, right? And this secure space, right? That we are in, right? Whoever's looking at this video, myself, right? Whether it's the country, the village, the city, the area, places in the world, so on, right? By the fig and olive, and by the mount, and by the secure spaces in the world, right? Allah certainly created man in the best of stature, right? So man, Allah has created man in the best of stature, right? Balanced, right? Righteous. And Allah can return him to the lowest of the low, right? Meaning consequence, right? Consequence for not maintaining or living up to, or at least striving in the cause of Allah, right? Allah can return you to the lowest of the low, right? And this could mean on earth, or it could mean your death, right? It could mean 6 feet under while when you are dead, right? You die and you return to the lowest of the low. So it could mean a particular consequence here on earth, or it could mean lowest of the low mentally. It could mean lowest of the low, as in literally 6 feet under when you are dead here and you buried, right? So Allah has the potential to do these things, right? So that's why we are trying to assist ourselves and others in our thinking, right? Because thinking influences how we act in the world, right? So those who believe and do righteous deeds will have their reward, right? So do not deny the day of recompense. Is Allah the most just of all judges, right? So me and you, we only have part of stories, we only have part of the picture. Allah has the totality of the picture, and that's why Allah is the best of judges, right? Allah is the best of judges, right? People like to talk about, oh, Krishna or Christ or these demigods as absolute truth. It is not the truth, right? That is false information, right? And this information, I myself would have believed in those things at one point in life going forward, right? Like Krishna, Jesus Christ, you worshiping entities that have partial information, partial knowledge, right? So, and these demigods, right, are not to be worshipped or taken whole, right, as an absolute, right? You do not have the absolute truth. You are part of the picture, right? You don't have the absolute truth. You are a human being incarnate on earth, right? And with a drop, with a single drop of God's energy, right? Is not and God's energy can come upon anybody. So Krishna, like how the Bhagavad Gita said, refers to when Krishna says that I am absolute, right? It is a channeled message from Allah, and this is what people don't understand. People take it literally to mean, oh, Krishna is saying that. Krishna is not saying that I. That I represents Allah, God, right? Is the I, right? So when they say I am the absolute or I am the truth, right? Or when Jesus say, I am the truth, the way, and the light. It don't mean Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. It's a channel message coming from Allah, right? And that is what people don't get, and they tend to worship these people, right? It's a channel messages coming from a higher source, right? It's not that Jesus is the way, the truth, the light. It's not that Krishna is the absolute, right? It is channeled, right, from a source that is higher than them, right? So just to clear up these things, right? And by nature, I mean, and by the laws that govern nature and so on. And we are talking about what? Making things right and making things balanced for certain people. And I was thinking yesterday about these things, all these buildings that we see going constructed and so on. Right? It is incumbent on the people with the wealth who constructing all these places, all over buildings in Southlands, in north, east, west, all over the country, right? To ensure that if you are persistent in constructing new buildings, that it have no homeless people, right, adjacent to you or adjacent to that building, right? It is incumbent upon you to ensure that, hey, if you are building up going forth from today, if you are constructing new buildings for commercial, because they would say a big air conditioned space, oh, commercial, call this number, commercial rent, call this number, for rent, call this number, and just adjacent to them, you would have homeless people begging for $1 to buy something to drink, right? So there's incumbent on the people with the wealth, as well as people who are assisting with the construction and so on, to say, hey, no, I'm not interested in participating in this. If it's still going to have, after I construct this, or after I help to construct this, if it's still going to have, right, 2-3 people, 4-5 people at the side of the road, right, begging for something to eat, because that don't make no logical sense, right? That don't make no logical sense. So you include those people in the buildings. Are you building for commercial rent? You build 2 rooms in those buildings for them, right? So that they could have a comfortable place to stay, and then God will allow you to say, hey, then open that place for commercial rent. Otherwise, your commercial rent business don't make sense, right? So that brings the end to this conversation. We move on to 96 tomorrow.